Hello and welcome back to another episode of Gregtech Community Edition Modern. Last time we got ourselves that beautiful macerator tower going out here in the background. And it is actually all the way through everything I fed to it. So, yes, the only other thing I can do is go and pick up some of my ore boxes around here. Don't really want to do that one. Ooh, I don't want that one either. We can do this one though. Grab this one. Why not do things like these ones over here? Pitch blend. And we'll do that one for now. Give it something to do while we are working on a different task. So, plop, and plop. I just think it's crazy because I bet you this will be done long before the end of the episode. That is the wonderful part about doing it parallel. Now, one of the things that is an issue is these blocks, as well as these parallel controllers, cost a lot when it comes to the particular circuitry. Kind of causes a minor issue. So we have two things we got to get done today. We got most of the stuff. I had to actually get iron chloride set up to be able to be auto-crafted to make more circuits. So we're going to run that. In the meantime, we got to set one other thing up to advance to the next tier that we're looking to go to. So I got myself another diesel generator here that will hopefully fill up pretty fast. And then we need ourselves a chemical bath. Now, I do have an export bus set up here with the borosilicate glass fibers. We just have to put that down there, and it will actually auto-craft because I have the borosilicate glass fiber cable as well as a crafting card in there. And now we can go ahead and just redirect the output here, and then it should start requesting some borosilicate glass from our system. Yes? No? Maybe? So, check that. Oh, it probably is. However, it's going through a lot, and I mean a lot, of fiber making right now. So that'll take a second. But with that handled, and we just grab out one of our polyethylene pipes, and then I guess we do need one more thing. We need a pump. Any pump will do, so we'll just do the cheapest. But we need our epoxy fired up here. And then we're going to need a pump to pump the epoxy into the chemical bath. And with the epoxy and the borosilicate glass that we'll be making, it should develop exactly what we needed. I just realized my little guy is not working. When settings on things change, it messes things up. A little bit frustrating that stuff like that happens, but it's something that can be fixed in a matter of seconds, so it's not too bad. Now the pump, right there. Oh, no, it's too hot, too hot. How hot is epoxy? Well, good to know. Good to know epoxy is hot. Let's go get a better pipe. I've actually never seen it go up in flames like that, so it's kind of funny to see it actually happen for once. I guess we could just do the bronze one. That'll fit for our purposes. Okay, now we just need to add, I believe, some more chlorine into the system, as it does appear we are back up. And just take it out of here, so let's do that. Like that. And there we go. Now it's going to keep going for quite a bit longer. So with the epoxy... Oh, and look, it actually filled up relatively quickly. And I don't think we have any more. Yeah, we don't have any more. It will auto-craft it when it needs it. But then we will fill up this chest. And I just want to put, like, some filler of some sort in here. We're not going to be pulling out, so let's go get a bunch of dirt or something. Stuff seems like a good one to use. Let's grab a full stack out. We'll just rename this filler. Do not remove. There we go. And now I can fill the rest of that crate. Just like so for now. And then I have filler for a different chest if I want to. And I know that I don't need to put filler in there. I could just use like a drawer that's limited to only a stack. I figure this is modular, so if I find that 64 reinforced epoxy resin sheets is not enough to hold on onto, then I can always, change that. I can just grab one out and modify the capacity. So that's actually something that's quite nice to be able to do. Now, after making that, we do need to pull one out so it shows that we made it. The next part is to get ourselves these qubits. And so to make the qubits, we have to do quantum eye with liquid gallium arsenide. Is that the or radon? Don't think I have enough radon. No. I know I was prepping a chemical reactor somewhere in between episodes, and I don't remember where I put it. That would be a lot better use of my time than... Oh, look, we do actually have some radon, so we can do the radon recipe. I can set up a thing to get the radon later. So we need to get the qubit. Must be an EV reactor with indium gallium phosphide. We can make that just like that. Okay, do I have that? Indium gallium phosphide. So we do have that. We just need to put the recipe in there. That's sweet. So just set that recipe up for an auto craft with the qubit recipe. There we go. And then we need to cut that down. And so one other thing I was working on for this episode, I think it's all done and ready for me. Let's see. There we go. So we need to put some batteries in these machines, as running them right now is a little bit of a pain. But to do so, we do have to actually can up some medium vanadium battery holes, which the recipe for that one is just some rose gold plates, some polytetrafluoroethylene, and some platinum cables. I was looking into the Lapatronic energy orbs, but they're a little bit further away because we need the reinforced fiber printed circuit boards to be able to make them in the first place. So I figured I'll just make a canner really quick and make a couple of these batteries until I can make those new Lapatronic clusters. Or energy orbs, they're not clusters yet. But now I can take this over and we can actually start charging it up in some of the machines I know we're going to be using on the regular. So to make the qubit, we're going to go ahead and stick that in there. And if I remember right, that one wants us to get the cut version. So let's go ahead and tell it to make qubit. Don't know why these mainframes aren't working through. Let's go check on that. Why are the mainframes stuck? Because they're still crafting the iron chloride 3. Is it because we're not pumping out liquid through the top of that thing, so it made it all and hasn't gone anywhere? That would be the precise reason why. Let's go right there. Done. Fixed. Now those should start processing. We can go grab the other batteries. I knew that something was going wrong in there. Just didn't know what until now, so I'm glad that that doesn't actually cut up, because I don't want that. Guess we'll take that one out for now and let those charge. I think I have another place I could charge those up at, but not entirely sure. Yeah, not really. I think that's the only place I have a tiny IV tier machine. Yeah, you can't do anything with these. Yeah, so I just have to wait for that to charge up. Quite a bit. What were we doing? We were coming over here. Check our epoxy things. So it is nice that we got that going. What do we need to do next? Yeah, we just need the circuit assembler, which means we just need those to finish up. I don't want to do... Okay, we do have a Lavatron crystal in there, so let's go ahead and qubit. We're going to go ahead and craft those up. Craft up whatever one equals. Now the question is, it does only. So this isn't gated behind indium, however, you gotta trust us, it is better recipe. It is for sure a better recipe to use it that way, as the other one is a pain in the butt to get to, because you have to use your reactor over there to make the gallium arsenide before you melt it down. Just not worth it. So now this one will finish, make our qubit, go into the cutter. It's interesting, it still ends up gaining as it goes up. And then we can wait. We're almost there to our circuits. We're making our last of our... Oh, no, we're making nanoprocessors now. We're not even making... Oh, we're getting there. Slowly. Slowly but surely. But now we can pull out our qubits for that crafting recipe. And then the qubits are going to be made together. Oh, boy. Full bucket, you say? And then you only want the new circuit. Okay, next board is for the quantum circuit line. For efficient and fast board production, you should use 2 large chemical reactors, both supplied with HV power or higher, to make them both share the same. You can do that? I didn't realize you could share the energy hatch on the chemical reactors. One LCR should be dedicated to iron chloride 3. The hydrogen is loopable, so you can reproduce hydrochloric acid locally. That way you only need to passively input iron dust and chlorine. One LCR should be making both the coated boards and empty circuit boards to make future crafting requests easy. We'll definitely have to set that up next time, and I'll actually look into that and do a full setup for it. But as we're looking to just make it so that we can get to that point, kind of just want to get it set up. That is actually a much better crafting method than what I originally thought. Which means that the ones that we have in the overworld will probably eventually get sacked. Right here, we need our 2 new recipes. Our fiber one with the annealed copper. I do not have those auto-craftable, so let's go ahead and do that. And then we need our board. We can use the sodium persulfate, but I would rather use that for the other thing that it's used for. And we can put both of those in here. Now we're going to be making that standard PCB board that everybody's used to seeing. The green with the annealed copper looking finish on it. That is not the right one. I'm glad I checked that out. And we need to craft ourselves an upgrade. And in the meantime, we can grab our new circuit assembler. Circuit. I don't know why I'm looking up there. We have it down here. There is our new circuit assembler, getting us that one step closer. We just need our boards now, and we'll be able to start that. As soon as that upgrade is finished, we can pop that on in. I think it's kind of crazy how many different upgrades you need on these different machines if you're going to run them like this. Now, obviously, I should make it to where you could parallel craft, because that'll be much better. I kind of want to do that once we get the bender, like the large versions of everything, rather than running around trying to figure out, making sure everything has its stuff. It's like our battery there is coming along nicely. We can go ahead and I want to actually yoink this one out. Pull that one out, let this machine charge up all the way, and then stick the battery in it. And then we will let batteries start charging up now that that one's going to be full for our purpose of actually using it. So we do need to actually run to create our circuit in there. And it's going to do its whole process now. Ooh. I don't know if I like that. I kind of forgot that it has that many outputs. Maybe we'll turn it off for now. Like, that's a lot. That's another 5 stacks. Okay, we're going to have to wait on that. Now, we are almost done with the board, I'm pretty sure. Go take a look. Well, requires a clean room, guys. So I guess we'll take that out. And we'll grab everything we need and we'll go put this recipe in a clean room. Kinda forgot that that's where we're getting to, is everything's got to be in a clean room, and I, luckily, have a chemical reactor in here. So that's a good note as well, is that we will have to make it inside of a clean room. Something that I don't think it said so in the recipe. Not in the recipe, but in the little thing. And we can pull that circuit board out. Now, here's where looking at these circuit boards matters, because our very first one are EV tier things. However, they do not need the system on chip one. They can be done with the qubit. Okay, that's for something completely different. Good. Okay. So, to get our first one, we're going to look at the recipes here. We got a system on chip. We got the qubit, qubit, qubit. So what's the difference between these three? That we do not have the advanced capacitors yet. Got it. So that's why we double check some things, because that means we can come over here and we can say, make sure we find the one we can actually do, which is this one with the non-advanced parts. However, that one contains the liquid tin, and we want the soldering alloy. Here is our recipe for the these are the EV ones, and then from there, these are used in the assembler to make the next tier, I'm sure. Oh no! No, they're not. Oh, that's a circuit assembler. That was a regular assembler. Circuit assembler. And we do not have the advanced parts. I really don't think I do. Let's check. Advanced. Yeah, we do not have the advanced parts yet. And I'm pretty sure that comes pretty close in this next tier. So we will use that recipe right there. Favorite that one, so we can go back in here and get our IV tier chips and put that in. And then one more. Oh. Use of that. And it looks like this is the one we want. We just want the liquid tin or soldering alloy. And we now have our LUV circuits, and we just, you know, what do they call these? They're the quantum processors. Quantum processor. So we want this one. Right there. And bam. Bam. There's that one. And ZPM. That is a lot of parts. Good thing we're only making one of those. So the other thing to note, and we'll go do this in the other place over here. So because we can craft the next solid line, I do want to make sure I don't... Do I have one in here? I don't. If I could press the right buttons, we'd be fine. We want another pattern. The reason we want another pattern is that I'm going to leave this one over here to craft up these other ones. However, I do not want anything that is going to be crafted here. So this one is our EV tier. So these are MV circuits. These are HV circuits. I believe this one... Nano processor. So we have our HV, our EV. Yeah, so this is our EV circuits. So I want to take out this one, I want to take out this one, and I want to take out this one. Because I do not want my auto crafting to use any of these recipes anymore. And we can go back and we can fix the ones that have that recipe in there at a later date. So now we can do this. We can grab out our patterns. Pattern things, and we can place it down right there. Make sure this accepts inputs from the input side, and we can put our new circuit patterns in. And we can request our quantum circuits. And so it looks like everything still is on AutoCraft. That was the one thing I was a little bit worried about. Because we already have the qubits processed as well, it should be able to serve it over to this side. It is just going to take quite a bit to make all of those other parts, because we've got to run it through making all of those individual parts. Now, one thing I wanted to check, because this is something that might speed up the process of making these a lot more, is I don't think any of these require numbers. Let's look up SMD. None of these should require numbers in them, and they do not. So let's split these up into different crafting terminals, just so that if we need to craft them, we can craft up all of the different parts and different terminals. And there we go. That will actually speed up the crafting on that quite substantially. And it did go into our system, so we can pull out our quantum processors. There we go. Quantum processor made. Now, this part is not the part we're looking for just yet. It allows us to make the EV machines, but we are needing the IV tier. This is also going to make the assembly line casing much cheaper once we get into that, which, from what I understand, is actually coming pretty soon. So here we got the first circuit of the quantum line is the last easy circuit line. This is the last easy circuit line. I like how it's got it in quotation marks because I knew that's exactly what it meant. Oh boy. Things are about to get hectic. If you wish, you could go even further and aim for advanced SMDs to make these circuits cheaper. Doing so will require a PBI and alloys that require HSSG coils in your EBF. I will probably change to that as soon as I can. And the only question I would have to look into after that is, do these recipes require those smaller parts? Or is it one of those that are like, can the other ones, the lower circuits, actually use the advanced parts? Because if they can't, which it looks like that is the case. So only this tier and up can use the advanced parts, which is good to know, so that we can't make any of those lower ones any cheaper. But there is that. And now we're going to get into our IV circuit part, because that's the one that we want to make sure that we can build, because that's going to make it much cheaper to make each one of these multi-block structures. As if we just look at the large maceration block, macerator tower, macerator tower, each one of those requires an IV circuit and an IV machine, and the IV machine requires 2 IV circuits. And so when you start looking at it and it's like, yeah, it's going to take 33 of these regular epoxy boards to make one machine, you're like, no, I don't want that. We're good. Go ahead and say no. But there's our IV circuits. There wasn't much to read on that one. I'll put it in there. What am I doing? And we can go to our next one, the LUV circuits. And this will, I believe, actually only make 1. So let's make 2. Just to make sure it does fully make the 2. Now, we aren't going to be using these much. There is careful. But we do need to get to ZMP so we can get to where we can make an assembly line. I guess doesn't really need an assembly line, does it? Probably that. Not certain what we're doing here, but looks legit enough. And this is why I put batteries in there. So now we're all charged up and we don't have to think about power while these kind of shift back and forth. Looks like we're making the quantum processor. And like I said, it does only make 1. But looking at the ZMP recipe, it does require... Nope, that's not what I wanted. I wanted a recipe. It does require 2. So now it's waiting on something else in the overworld. And I do think it's kind of cool. I'm glad that it mentioned that you can share the multi-block energy input. That was something that I was unaware of, because every other input block, so people were asking me about, I think it was the brick furnace down here. Why these weren't sharing outputs or something. It's because these are not allowed to share outputs, and I believe some of the blocks even say that they can't. I just never noticed that it could be shared, because it tells you when it can't, it doesn't tell you when it can. I'm pretty sure. Let's look that up. Energy hatch. Yeah, see, it doesn't say that. But there's a couple things that basically... Yeah, multi-block sharing disabled for this one. So... You don't think about it when you're looking at it, because they'll tell you otherwise. And so you just think about it. Oh, it told me that it can't work, so I just don't even think about it. So, you know, kind of ends up being a problem where you're like not thinking about sharing different energy parts. Because if I look at input and output hatches, just look at that. Pass-throughs can be shared. What about these ones? They don't say anything on the input and output hatch. Maybe it was literally just for... That's actually obnoxious. I think it's literally just for the 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 hatch thing. What is it called? Right there. It's literally just for the coke oven. And I have been thinking that you can't share the blocks for so long, and I was completely incorrect. Well, that's good to know. Anyways, we are getting out our quantum processors, and we were going to go ahead and set this up to craft the last one. So, oh, we need to make HSG frames, which means this is going to take even longer. I'm glad we looked at that. HSG frame, just like so. Boom, 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 boom. And an extruder. We need R4. And we need our extruder with the rods right there. Boom. We can actually take these out. Let's go ahead and start the quantum processor. And I guess we had some leftover HSG already, so we didn't even have to worry about that. I don't know where from. Oh, because I upgraded the turbine. Wanted to show that off. But yeah, it's been running for a little bit. The steel one actually broke, I believe. I don't think I put it away somewhere messy, like messing with myself. But the best part is we can now reclaim these patterns and make them blank by shift right clicking, and we've got 3 additional patterns to stuff in here. Can't believe I actually went through half a stack for this video of the patterns to get the borosilicate glass, to get the all of the different things, and then I will have to go turn. I just realized. Control. We have like a redstone cover. Activity detector. Oh god. Item detector. Storage cover. Shutter module. Got a machine controller. And we got our thing. I was just thinking about that because we've got this thing that we can do. Activity status. No. This one would probably work just fine. Question is, can we make it? I'm going to go ahead and prep it, and then I'll be right back. Not make you guys wait too long, because I'm going to have to look at some stuff. So I set it up in the auto crafter, and then I looked it up, and I already have one. I don't know where I got it, but I have one. So my idea is to put this here. This there. So this will make one. I guess then the question is, if I use... man, I wish I could inspect it. Monitoring status. It doesn't seem to be working there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go figure something out with that. But we got our last circuit done. Got all the way to the ZMP tier circuits. And that will show us in circuit progression. It means we're actually nearly there to where we're at, where our last circuits go through at with the ZMP tier. Now, that does not mean that it's over, because once we get to there, still technically have 2 more tiers to get through with items and stuff like that. So, it's kind of an interesting thought that I don't even think, we don't have. Probably be able to make him, like, more, what's it called? Efficient? Other than that, it looks like it'll take some time, because, yeah, we need stuff from Nadak to make our next wafer. So I knew that we couldn't make a cheaper wafer just yet. But now it's going to make ourselves a way easier way to make the multi-blocks. Because the other thing I forgot to mention, so the macerator tower, that requires a total of 3 for that one. You need 4 for each parallel block. So if I look up the parallel block, for each regular parallel block, just the level 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 LUV ones too. These aren't the IV ones, these are LUV. And then we need 1, 2, and then 3 for the receiver. So this is the block that required 33 circuit boards. That's a lot of material to be using when we can just make these nice epoxy resin sheets and make them that way. Now, I would like to thank you guys for watching. Next time, we'll get into some more of these awesome multi-block machines that we're allowed to get into and use. I will see you then. Please like and subscribe in the meantime. Bye!